Welcome to Brainstorm MTG. I'm ELD, and this is Fast Effect, Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Now, we've got Wednesday and Friday Night Legacy back up and running. You can actually play with us via webcam. You can find out about that from the description. Playing over Discord, and we are actually revisiting here a tournament from December, a Pauper deck Pauper tournament battling here. We've got a turn 1 Lava Spike Turtle opening up with a Carrion Feeder. Thermal Alchemist, a very dangerous card. Turtle would do well to answer that. Now, it's most likely just the Tragic Slip that could take that down. Let's see what we got. A Sultai Emissary. And I don't know about not swinging there. That's interesting. I feel like maybe it would be better to have swung with that Carrion Feeder. Instead, now this Thermal Alchemist pushing through a lot of damage thanks to Needle Drop and Chain Lightning. 2 extra damage, and he is currently untapped. I don't believe Chris would have blocked if Turtle had swung with the Carrion Feeder. Let me know how you would have played that. I feel like Aristocrats wants to go for the throat. A Mortician Beetle. And Aristocrats is all about sacrificing creatures, so Carrion Feeder is going to allow for that. And Mortician Beetle is going to benefit from it. A Carrion Feeder with Rancor. Thermal Alchemist blocks. We got a manifested card. Just 4 damage coming in. Chris with 4 cards, now 3 in hand. Oh, and passing the turn, very interesting. Searing Blaze a lot of the time justifies holding on to those extra lands to get the landfall trigger. This might bode somewhat well here for Turtle. He swings with everything. Blister Pod can be sacrificed to create quite a bit of extra damage. He sacrifices, gets an Eldrazi spawn, counters for both Carrion Feeder and the Mortician Beetle. And now down to 8. Chris is going to be dead on his turn to this board, but will Turtle get another turn? Curse of the Pierced Heart actually bodes kind of well. Fire Blast targeting Carrion Feeder. Now it already has 2 counters on it. He can just sack 2 more creatures. I feel like this Manifest and Eldrazi spawn. Oh no, and he lets it go. Rancor does bring a card back to hand there that can be replayed. If this Manifest is another Carrion Feeder, that would be absolutely massive. Sacrifice outlets are kind of the bottleneck for this deck. I do have it built. I was inspired by Turtle's list to actually sleeve this thing up, and it can be quite a bit of fun. The mana base also a little bit of an issue. Straying into 2 colors in aggro is harder to do compared to the mono green that I often sleeve up in Pauper. Eight. We've got a spawn being sacrificed. Oh, and there's another big creature. Bloodthrone Vampire can sacrifice to absolutely force the issue. So this Bloodthrone is going to have to be blocked. Rancor goes on to Mortician Beetle. And he's just sending with the Mortician Beetle here. Down to 3. If I had to guess, that may have been an error thinking that the Blood Throne cannot attack based off of just manifesting, but that actually counts as being in play the whole time. So it does not need haste to be able to attack once you flip it face up. Turtle gets there despite perhaps being overly cautious. I might be missing some interaction there, but it feels like Chris did have some chances to draw some burn that could have closed that out. And we'll see how games 2 and 3, if there is one, go. Now, black-green does have some interesting sideboard options, and versus burn, one of the more devastating ones is Weather the Storm. At 2 mana, you're able to potentially gain an incredible amount of life depending on how many spells had been played on that turn. And you also have access to a couple of other life gain spells in green. They are escaping me right now. One of them is 1 green, and you gain 8 life with Morbid. That is perhaps better than Weather the Storm. I mean, Weather the Storm usually is going to gain you 9 life for 2 mana. It might be better to just gain 8 life for 1 green. Let me know what your preferred life gain is. You Pauper players out there, what would you play in black-green Aristocrats to gain some life and really blank all sorts of the damage that burn does? Of course, cards like Lava Spike have no option but to go to face. And really, I mean, you kind of have to be going face with burn. I mean, it is a type of combo deck. Once you start trying to use your bolts and chain lightnings on their creatures, a lot of the time you are just going to get buried, as your creatures are not really going to do very much in terms of interacting on the battlefield. They're about pressuring your life total. So typically you've got, and I'm sorry I don't know the names of all these cards off the top of my head. Get to Lava Runner, I think it is. No, Thermal Alchemist. He's the next one on the list. And then there's a Firebrand Archer. So 1 mana creatures, you basically have a poor man's Goblin Guide. And then at 2 mana, you have 2 creatures that essentially give you spell power +1. So your spells all do 1 extra damage. We have a Young Wolf. And the Jungle Hollow, gaining Turtle a point of life. Those incremental life gains off of these enter the battlefield tap lands are not without consequence when you're playing against burn. Lava Spike, and now get to Lava Runner. And he's swinging for 2. He's going to go ahead and chump just to get it back, keeping that life total high. He's got a 2/2 now that can trade with the Lava Runner. And it looks like a Brindle Sholt at the front of the hand. Really, one of the main reasons to go green-black, Brindle Sholt for 2 mana. You got a 1/1 body that also allows you to get a 3/3 when it's sacrificed. And we've got Blood Throne Vampire and a plant token over Colony Garden. I'm actually really happy to see Turtle's list here on camera. I was inspired by some of the games that I saw him playing, but didn't get his actual list. Kind of went off of memory, and there's some good inclusions here. The Colony Garden and the Blood Throne Vampire amongst them. And what is going on with this card? I don't know what that one was. Is it, it's probably Skewer the Critics. Yeah, I think that's Skewer the Critics. So Christopher keeping the board clear. Bloodthrone a little too fragile to stick around, and now lead the Stampede. Getting a Nintuku Husk. I think this is going to be too little too late. That was a big investment of mana, only to find a Nintuku Husk. Didn't really work out. I think Winding Ways ultimately going to end up being the best option there. 1 damage, and now Needle Drop to do the final. Does Turtle have some life gain here? It would be a devastating reply. He's got Fire Blast and Needle Drop. All right, back up to 20. We're on to game number 3. Life gain would have been an absolute blowout there. Nothing says I was prepared for burn like gaining some life after they've sacrificed their mountains to Fire Blast you. That would be a pretty devastating line, but not available there for Turtle. So it is on to game 3. This time he'll have the play. And yeah, he's got the Bloodthrone Vampire and even a Nintuku Husk in there. I don't know if the Husk is going to end up being good enough. We'll see. I mean, he's like actually like home brewing this list. It's really cool. The deck wants like 8 Carrion Feeders. That's what it really, really wants, is like 1 mana guys that let you get that sacrifice rolling. The Mortician Beetle is phenomenal in the deck. I mean, you can start getting out some pretty beefy guys very early on. And the upside being that they can outclass pretty much everything in the format. So, yeah, I mean, you can get like great draws with Affinity where you're casting early, like Gearseeker Serpent or something. He's like a 5/6. Mirror Enforcers, of course. Gurmag Anglers can come down very quickly in this format, but those all have an upper limit, whereas Carrion Feeder and Mortician Beetle can just get bigger and bigger and really dwarf the other creatures on the battlefield. Gaining a life here and a Blister Pod. Blister Pod's great in this deck. A Lightning Bolt going upstairs. A Thermal Alchemist on turn 2. Burn can actually kill you on the 3rd turn, but not when you gain 2 life. Brindle Schult. Now, I would say I would love to see Turtle attacking more before committing his mana. Now, it's possible that he's just respecting Christopher's ability to make the right play, but it is not obvious that it's always correct to block with Thermal Alchemist when they attack with the 1/1. I mean, that could result in a pump spell completely blowing you out of the game. And you really don't lose too much by committing your attackers if they're not going to be blocking anyways. So that is something to consider for those of you out there that might be picking up this Aristocrats deck. It is a consideration to just be turning guys sideways, getting in the damage. But Turtle really needs a sacrifice outlet. That is the main thing here. He's just got a bunch of 1/1s without it. A Carrion Feeder would immediately be able to become a 5/5 and also add a 2/2 Manifest, a 3/3 Boar, and a 1/1 Eldrazi to the battlefield. It's an awful lot for just 1 black. Chain Lightning continues to push down on Turtle's life total. Thermal Alchemist creating some inevitability here, as it's only 3 damage that can come in to make it by. And no sack outlet. And he's really gone pretty heavy on the sacrifice effects in his deck. He's running more than I have. Another Brindle Schult, and yeah, just no sacrifice outlet. That is brutal. Needs like a Winding Ways to dig and find it. Without it, it will not work. Needle drop cycling each time, doing 2 damage. And now looks like the final blow, a full art lightning bolt, finishes it off as Turtle's unable to find any way of sacrificing creatures in his Aristocrats deck, as Burn takes that one down. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.